There we go. I'll just cut that in. It would cut to be any at that point anyway. But it has been an interesting morning. Thank you all for being here. I am Anthony Barogas. I'm the Chief Gearhead. I guess I got to like do a little bit more with this title here. And I am the Chief Gearhead here at StreamTek. Thank you all for joining me. We've got a pretty good crowd here today. And as we were talking about, today is going to be all about, oops, don't jump over the stuff, ENG Camcorder. I can't go there. Can I go this way? Yeah, I can go this way. Today is going to be about ENG Camcorders. And the reason I did that is because I get a lot of questions from people who are always asking, what's the best DSLR to do things? You know, I need to use Mevos, and is the OBSBot the best camera for a pickleball tournament? Or like, what's the best camera? And I'm like, there's a whole class of people that are coming into the business that have never worked with an ENG camcorder. And ENG stands for Electronic News Gathering. And typically, it's an on-shoulder camcorder. That's basically all it is. It's an on-shoulder camcorder that you can use just like this. So you've got easy access to focus, zoom, iris. You can adjust your audio coming in because you've got big XLR jacks on the back. I've got 2 media slots. I've got a bunch of, I pulled the covers off already, a bunch of ports on the back here. I can power it from a battery. This one has a nice big screen in it as well. But typically, these are not large sensor camcorders. But what they are good at is being compact, lightweight, and giving you 20x zoom or more. And this one's got an interchangeable lens. So if I'm doing something from far away, I can put a bigger lens on it. If I'm doing something that I want a super wide angle lens, I can put a super wide angle lens on it. So it kind of gives you the flexibility of a DSLR. But these lenses have 3 really important factors, and it's common to all ENG camcorders. These lenses are parfocal, meaning when you zoom all the way in to get focus, you can pull all the way out, and that point of focus is always in focus all the way. 2, you have a long zoom range that is easily controlled from your fingers right here on the zoom rocker, and I'll get into other ways to do it as well. And you have multiple speeds, so you can zoom very slowly or you can zoom very fast, and all the different speeds in between, and it's motorized. Thirdly, it's constant aperture. So if I select an f/4 and I zoom all the way through that range, internally the lens is making compensation with the iris, because as you zoom further, it takes in less light, so it opens the aperture more. But it does that smoothly. Whereas if you take any DSLR lens and you try to zoom, the aperture, in order to compensate, will click to the next setting, and click to the next setting, and you will see that happen. Moreover, trying to zoom smoothly on a DSLR lens is pretty much impossible. So not all of them are parfocal. So this is giving you 3 really important features in an easy to carry, great for sports, great for an event that you need to cover, whether it be a concert or something like that. That's where you see these used a lot. And I see a lot of people who are doing those type of events, and this is not in their thought process in terms of this could be a solution. They're rentable. There's lots of people who have them out there in the industry already. So if you're hiring a camera operator, there's usually owner operators who will have an ENG camcorder, and it's going to give you an HDMI out or an SDI out that you can plug into whatever you're going to switch, and that's going to deliver you a lot of capability that Mevos and OBSBots and DSLRs and all those different solutions, PTZ cameras, don't give you. The ability to like dynamically follow the action with an operator. That's one of the key things. There's somebody operating this camera, and the human aspect is something that really gives you a benefit that standalone fixed cameras aren't going to give you. So that is why I wanted to talk about ENG camcorders today. Let's take a look at the comments coming in. No one has ever forgotten about camcorders, be it for ENG or EFP, electronic field production, at least in the professional world I live in. Yes, people who have used them haven't forgotten about them. They've always been great tools, but the challenge is that there's lots of people coming into the industry who are like, I have a DSLR or I have an iPhone and that's really all I need, or I just need more iPhones, or I'm going to start Instagram. I completely forgot about starting that. They don't know about these cameras. They've never had exposure to these cameras. They came into the production world after DSLRs kind of took over, because there's so many productions that are done with DSLRs, large sensor cameras and things like that, which have a whole set of other advantages, but also have their own set of disadvantages. Like, getting a big parfocal long zoom lens on a full frame camera is going to be a massively big and heavy and expensive lens, whereas these lenses are not. So let's continue down here. I want to say hello to Saul TV, watching from Mexico, and he lets us know that he will be back in Chicago next weekend. LH2 Livestreams said that shirt is very more heavy. Yeah, it's got a very tiny pattern on it, but we'll deal with it. But you're right. Hello from Ireland, and hello from England. So you two guys should get together. And then we got someone greeting us from Pico Riviera, California, the McGee Academy of Arts and Sciences broadcasts. And we've got from sunny Spain. And you know what? It's not too harsh. No, that's why I'm doing this, because I am part of the generation of people who use these before DSLRs could even do video, before digital cameras could do video. And we grew up with these things and we learned on these things and we never forgot about them. And that's why I'm doing this video, is because I'm really surprised that more people don't use them. There seems to be like this, oh, no, that's old school. I don't want to use that. I need to use the new technology. I need to use a Blackmagic, Ursa. I'm like, well, by the time you fully outfit a Blackmagic Ursa broadcast G2, you built this. That's what it's equating. That's where they circled back to. And just letting everybody know that these cameras never went away. That is a JVC behind you, isn't it? Yes, it's a JVC 750. There is you can tell by the thinner body and the exposed ear cup. There are other ones from Sony and Panasonic and everybody else. Everybody who makes a camera made an ENG camera, except maybe Canon, I think. And the body is usually taller, but the earpiece here is actually one of the key features of an ENG camera, in that you can actually hear the audio you're recording without having to put in headphones. You can just put your ear up to this so you can hear it, and it's got an audio monitor adjustment right there. You can tweak the audio levels right here on the front while you're recording, so it's easy. You can hear it, and he needs to be a little louder, and you get your eye on the ball. You don't have to like, That's one of the key things with these, is they're designed for shooters. So everything about it is uniform. I could pick up this JVC camera, and then after using this for a while, I can go to a Sony ENG camcorder, and many of the controls are going to be in the same. Everything on the lens is going to be the same. It's going to have audio adjustment dials. Your white balance and black balance is always in the front. There's certain standard things in between. All the camera manufacturers kind of got together and says, we're all kind of do this the same, so that an operator can use whatever camera, and there's that additional flexibility. Whereas if I have a Panasonic DSLR and I know how to use it, and then I go to a Sony DSLR, dude, I'm lost. I have no idea where anything is on that camera. And then even within a particular camera, if you have, this Sony camera and that Sony camera, all the buttons and knobs and controls are going to be in different places, and they can even have completely different menus. So there's certain uniformity with ENG cameras that really does pay off. So it almost doesn't matter if it's a JVC or a Panasonic or a Sony or an Ikegami or a Hitachi, or just go on down the line. once you get the majority of the major features, those are going to be carried through. You just need to know, like, okay, here it is on this one, and it might be up here on a different one, but there's going to be controls. The white balance is always going to be in the front. This one's got a big screen on the side. That's pretty cool, but not all of them are going to have that. Continuing down the line. Hey, Anthony, New York in the house. Thanks for being here. I appreciate you. Mystery solved. Panasonic HC-X2 is my weapon of choice for all my event work. Oh yes, these are excellent for events. I did weddings and events for over a decade, and an ENG camera, it lets you just you've got everything you need, and you don't have to think about operating the camera because it's all right there. Plus, the natural distribution of weight on your shoulder makes it so that I would go, a whole day on a wedding and not really feel it. Whereas DSLR is always in your hand out here. Then you have to add a monopod, and then you're kind of constrained by the monopod. This thing is just balanced on your shoulder to the point where you got a battery on the back, and you can have it situated such that I could actually pull my hand out for a minute and put it back in, and it would just sit there on my shoulder. Now, I have to say this one is actually quite light. JVC did make this one quite light, and the shoulder pad's actually adjustable depending upon the length of the lens you have on the front. You can adjust where your shoulder fits in here. And there are other models that are heavy. Like the first time I put together the Ursa broadcast with the eyepiece edition, which the shoulder edition, with the big ENG lens on the front, and then a big battery on the back. Dude, that thing was over 20 pounds, and I didn't even have any wireless receivers attached to it, and because usually those go on there too. That was a beast. This is considerably lighter. This is, I mean, maybe 10 pounds. It's a very lightweight camera, so it's something that people can use for many hours without getting the fatigue that you would get with something that you have to hold in your hands the whole time. Christopher says, makes sense to use one. I used to use JVC JY19 dockable SVHS head mini DV back in the deck. Yes, those are cool. Actually, one of the first ones I personally owned was a Sony broadcast front end docked to a high 8 back because we needed long run times, and on high 8 analog, you could get 2 hours of runtime on a tape. So that was a thing. Tuning in from Brooksville, Florida. Yes, that was tape. High 8 tape. We still use a Sony EX3 with Canon glass for concerts and sports, and the quality today is still astounding. Yes, that's the thing. These cameras for streaming, yes, I know there's 4K and I know there's 8K, and cell phones are doing amazing, and Blackmagic has a 12K camera. Awesome. Great. I would hazard to say 90% of live produced event streaming is happening in HD. Yes, some things are going to be going to 4K, like they talk about doing the Olympics in 4K, but how big is the audience watching it in 4K? And then, of course, you have to think people watching something on their mobile devices or their computers are going to be watching in HD mostly, as opposed to events or programs that are coming in through Roku or things like that in the living room, which is where the 4K TV may be. The versatility and quick access to all the controls are key features. Absolutely. You can use the Ursa broadcast, but the cost raises fast. Yes, because they like to tout that the Ursa broadcast body is only $5,000, whatever. But then you're going to need a lens, and that's going to be several $1,000s. And then you need the eyepiece attachment, and then you need a shoulder brace, and then you need, it adds up. Whereas you can buy ENG cameras used. I bought this one used. You can see it's got a one on there, and I took off the other label earlier. And they're out there, and they're out there very affordably. I also have on my Facebook, there's a B4 on M43 group. So if you are an older broadcast professional and you're used to using these type of ENG lenses on a big camera, but you want to use them on a DSLR, you can actually do that through adapters and power the lens externally. Now, what you lose is the camera can't tell the iris what to do, which these do because the lens is actually talking to the camera. The camera is telling the iris to open or close based on the exposure. You lose that with DSLRs, but you get the power zoom, you get the full zoom range, you get the par focal capability, you get the constant aperture, you get all of that, and you can do it like I've been doing B4 on Micro Four Thirds for over a decade, and it delivers, good quality. And I can shoot in 4K. This is not a 4K camera. I can shoot in 4K with all my GH4s and use my ENG glass on the GH4s. And that has proven to be very, very handy for certain things. Different tools for different tasks. I always say that. This is not the perfect camera. If I just need to do something in a little office, a little talkie around the office, I could do that with the DSLR. I could do that with a Mevo Start. I could do that with an OBSBot. And it'll look and sound great. None of them, this really doesn't have any particular advantage. But if you're doing something that's fast moving and the operator needs to adjust the shot and follow action, it could be a school play. And you need to be able to follow what's going on and dynamically adjust your framing for all of a sudden a single talk becomes a song with two people, becomes a song with a whole chorus. You need to follow that action around. That's where these things have that dynamic, smooth zooming capability that you don't even notice that the shot has changed because it happens so organically. Which is the best camcorder 300 for streaming with good zoom range and wireless option? I have no idea, especially at the $300 range. I don't know if you're going to get a good zoom range and best camcorder and also wireless for $300. $300 gets you this about, and that's not with NDI, and it has no optical zoom. So, and it is a camcorder. It does record internally, but it doesn't have a screen, and accessing the controls on this is very difficult. How about the Panasonic HC-X20? There are dozens and dozens, there's hundreds of camcorders out there. Because if you could look at just what's out there now, plus what's been out there 5 years ago, because those camcorders didn't suddenly become bad. The new camcorders may offer new features like, now it has Wi-Fi 6. Now it has a little bit longer zoom range. Now, some other feature, it does HDR or something like that. That's great, but that doesn't mean the one that didn't do HDR got worse. It's still a good camera. The Blackmagic Pocket 4K from years ago is still a really good camera, and they keep improving the software, and the images it produces are as good today as they were when it came out. If anything, they might even be better because they've improved the processing, improved the codecs and everything. You can find a used EX3 if you look for a bit more than 300. EX3 is a great camera. And yes, the older camcorders, and I have a Pelican case full of Sony camcorders, not ENG on the shoulders, more what they call prosumer camcorders. And I meant to pull one out. I just didn't get to it. And that's where everything is still in your hand, but it gives you the long range zoom, the parfocal capability, the smooth iris, different zoom speeds. It gives you all of that in your hands. That's what they called prosumer, and these are professional or broadcast. What's the camera you have here? This is a JVC 700 series. There's a 740, a 750. There's different models. 700 series, the 800 series is similar. I think the 500 series was similar. They all have these thin bodies. It's very distinctive to JVC. And other camcorders have a taller body. But the nice thing is, it's easy off, easy on. I can just take this, it says, well, it's backwards because of the weight, so that I can point in the right direction. Let me just clear that up there. There we go. So this is the JVC, and this is actually ready to go. I can power this on, and I'll power up. I got the battery right here. This comes with an Anton Bauer mount, which is the gold mount, they call it. and I've adapted it to the Sony V-Lock mount batteries that I have from IDX. And so I just have a little adapter plate in here. And the nice thing is these batteries are usually 12, 13, 14 volts. And then you also have what they call D-taps over here, so you can pull that DC off and power other devices like a wireless transmitter and things like that. Because if you get a Holy Land wireless transmitter, it's going to be 12 volts. And there's your power right there. And then you can stick it, Velcro it. That's why I got Velcro on the back here. You Velcro it right to the back there, and you're good as gold. You're transmitting, you're walking around, you're doing everything. And then it's got these nice mounts that you lock it in. And that's how these work. Actually, let's do a, since we have this question, let us do a walkthrough. And we go to here. And so like I was saying, let me open that up a little bit. The key thing is with these is the lens. You know, the fact that you can have that smooth zoom all the way through the zoom range, that is really the main benefit of these cameras. He asked, what's the price? This camera is probably 7 years old at this point. I purchased it used. I purchased it used for under $1,000. When you go on JVC's website, this was a $7,500 camera. So think of it that way. You're getting $7,500 worth of technology for a lot less. And, you know, and it's got the color viewfinder here. It's got a color swing out screen. So if I turn this sideways and I swing this out, you can see I can do the smooth zoom in. Actually, let me go up to the spots. Smooth zoom in. I can focus. Probably can't focus that close. Ooh, I can focus that close. Look at that. And then smooth zoom out. So this way you can check your color. You can go to the menu system and go through all the menus and set different settings. There's a couple controls back here. I'm going to put my glasses on. I'm going to do it. Here we go. For LCD brightness, LCD peaking, audio selection, time code. This is your main menu section. Built-in and neutral density filters, also very handy. Here's your audio levels. Right now they're both set to auto. Your white balance, you can set multiple manual white balances as well as auto. You've got your gain settings. So on a DSLR, that would be your ISO. You know, I want to have 3 presets: ISO, 100, 800, and 1500. You know, and you can pick what those are. Power. Your record button's right here. Your record button's also on the back of the trigger there. Up here, I've got what I'm listening to for my headphones. Camera media, I can put the whole thing in full auto, adjust the viewfinder settings, different user presets up here. In the front, you can see I've got my white balance. It's a switch in the front, and that's very common. So if, like I was saying, if I went from this JVC to a Sony, there's going to be a white balance switch in the front. And if I went to a Panasonic ENG camera, there's going to be a white balance switch in the front. Making it easy for the operator just to focus on getting good pictures, not trying to figure out where this manufacturer hit it, or like in a DSLR, what menu do I have to go into to set a manual white balance. With this one, it's like you flip it up to A, you hit the switch, you're done. Continuing around the opposite side, if I can get it past here. Over here, we've got the component video. Yes, this one is old enough. It has component output, or you could even just make it composite video. HD SDI output right here, remote control. And that's another feature of ENG cameras, is that you can what we call paint the camera. So you can hook in a remote, and then from another box, usually if you're talking like a sports truck, they've got a row of them for all the cameras, and then an operator sits there, a colorist or a painter. They sit there and they're able to adjust the iris, the gain, any settings that you can go into the menu and adjust, they can adjust, and they've got knobs so that if you've got a football game and they're running from shade into the sun, he's able to actually adjust that camera on the fly and manually paint it so that it looks natural, and do that with all the different cameras as they follow a player from shade into the sun. Over here you've got audio connections, 4-pin DC input. You've got 2 media slots because you can either cascade from one to the other. This is very common with DSLRs too, cascade from one to the other, or you can record on both at the same time. You can record a high quality and then a lower level proxy. You can do all of that, set it up in the menus. Over here you've got, this one's got Firewire. That's how old this one is. 2 XLR inputs. Here's your lens jack right here. Spin this around a little bit more so you can see it. The lens has a cable because the lens is not made by the camera manufacturer. This is a Canon lens on a JVC camera. Glass is made by glass companies, and JVC does not make glass. Sony really does not make glass. I mean, they kind of got into it when they bought Minolta, but Panasonic does not make glass. Other companies make glass, and then the camera manufacturers put them in there. So this is a Canon lens on a JVC camera. And if I didn't want to use this lens, I could just, whoops, let me lock this. I could just take this out, pull the lens out, and then I could change the lens. So this one, this is a KT 14 by 4.4. So that means it's a 14x lens, and it starts at 4.4 millimeters. So the model number of the lens is very mathematical. They don't get really fancy. Sometimes they give them Pegasus and other names, but realistically, you're going to get, the KT is very specific, as in it does not have a doubler. 14 is the zoom range. 4.4, where it starts, and KRSJ also means certain specific things about the optics and the quality of the lens. And then you can just put this on here like this. Turn the bayonet mounts. If you've ever worked with PL lenses on film cameras, same thing. And then you're done. And that is back up and running. Let's see what else I got. Up here, I was saying, you've got the record button right here. On top of the lens, you've got manual. Whoops, you can't see that right there. Let me spin it a little further. There you go. On top of the lens, you've got aperture for auto and manual. And then if you're in manual, there's a button to just, go into auto, just a little bit of auto, a little bit of auto. And then if you've got the right type of connections, you've actually got a return. There's a return button so that if you're doing an event and somebody's doing a side-by-side like this, and you're the camera doing me, you need to see the multi-view from program in order to know where to frame your shot so that the person's in that little window of, being in the shot. So you hit the return button, and then, okay, I can see where my shot is fitting into the complex thing. So that's available. Up here, you've got a big tally light on the front. You've got a microphone on its own holder. You've got a shoe. You've got a record button. You've got a quarter 20 thread. You've got a quarter 20 thread, and on and on. And I'm going to spin this back around because one thing I do have on here is I have a zoom control. And this is a Canon zoom control for a Canon lens. And you need to do that because Canon is different than Fujinon. Canon and Fujinon are the two big lens makers. And typically you need a Canon zoom control to talk to a Canon lens and a Fujinon zoom control to talk to a Fujinon lens. I've just always called these a studio kit. Blackmagic now offers what they call lens demands, and it's essentially the same thing, but their controls, which are very well built, I have to say, because I did the review of them, those controls connect via USB-C to their camera. And I'll just lament again that Blackmagic makes a micro studio camera and several larger studio cameras with built-in screens, and none of them have a B4 mount, a bayonet mount to put these lenses on. They have micro 4/3 mounts, and they have EOS mounts, and those are the type of lenses that don't have parfocal, smooth zooming, constant aperture capability in them. But that is a quick look at this setup. Again, this is a user-driven show. If you have questions, the last question we had is, what is the sensor size of that JVC model? That is, I think this is a 1/2 inch. I think this is a 1/2 inch sensor. There's different size sensors, so you've got like 1/3 inch, 1/2 inch, 2/3 inch, and that's kind of like as big as they go in these type. Then I know the Blackmagic Broadcast, I believe, is a 1 inch sensor. But then in order to get the 2/3 inch B4 mount lenses to cover the larger sensor, they actually have an optical adapter in there to expand the circle of light just enough to cover their larger sensor. And when you use micro four thirds cameras, the lenses that have a doubler, it's just this big optical thing that flops into place, or you push it back out of the way. The doubler takes a 2/3 inch lens and it fully covers a micro four thirds sensor. So if you want to shoot open gate 4/3, micro four thirds, you can do that with a ENG 2/3 inch lens with the doubler. You don't even have to buy anything extra, well, other than the adapter from B4 to micro four thirds. Can you send me one of your other camcorders? I'm sure you take good care of your gear. I do take good care of your gear, and actually this one's on eBay. Same as the Sony EX3, X200, and Z280. Yes, 1/2 inch is a very common sensor size. 2/3 is sort of like the broadcast standard. And then to continue to make things a little smaller and make the glass smaller, which then makes the camera lighter, they went to 1/3 inch. So you can still get the same zoom range, but as we all know, with sensor sizes, the smaller you make the sensor size, the deeper the depth of field is. So even if you're, at f2.8 on this lens, it goes, 2.8. If you're down to f2.8 on a 1/2 inch lens is going to be a deeper depth of field than a 2.8 on a 2/3 inch lens, on a 1 inch lens, on a micro four thirds, on a full size sensor, and on and on and on. You take a 2.8 on a full frame sensor, well, you're talking like this much. I got the eye in focus, but now he moved a little bit, now it's out of focus. These are a lot more forgiving in terms of focus, because now, you've got 2 feet, almost a meter of in focus at a good aperture. And, you don't have to be super critical. Somebody can move around and be talking and everything, and they're always in focus. You don't have to worry about it so much, but you don't get that super cool bokeh behind them. Here we are talking 3 sensors. Not always. A lot of these also still have, I think this is a 3 sensor camera, but not all of them are. There are single sensor cameras, because it got to the point, like the Blackmagic Ursa Broadcast is a single sensor camera. There's no need to split it into 3 sensors, because they're able to pack all the red, green, and blue onto one sensor. Whereas you go back to the 80s and 90s, they didn't have that capability, so they just made red sensor, green sensor, and a blue sensor, and they put a prism in between to split out the colors. And, that was how they were able to get there. But nowadays, we're able to build, an 8K sensor in a phone. So we're able to do things today. The new Sony model just presented a month ago has only 1 inch one sensor. Yes. So that's really where the technology is going, is that sensor sizes and chips, they're able to do, amazing things these days. I have a Canon R7 mirrorless with a 1.6 crop sensor. So is that bigot? Well, with a 1.6 crop, that might be APS-C. So that's usually what the crop is when you start with a full frame camera. The crop is to go to the standard APS-C. We had 2 of those ENG cameras, sold one, but keeping the others a great bit of kit. They are, and I happened into these, and I was like, these are great cameras for the right application. People always ask, what's the best camera? If I was doing soccer from the sideline, this is the camera I would pick up. You know, put this on a tripod and use the zoom controls. Dude, I'm a happy camper because this is going to do everything I need it to do. I would not use a DSLR for soccer from the side of the field because it's just going to be a lot harder to get the same fluidity in following the action on this side of the field, on the other side of the field, the far end of the field, really close in front of me and everything. This would be the tool of choice for that type of programming. Now, if you're doing a concert on the stage and it's kind of staying right there and you want to have a shot just of the singer and that's not really going to change, yeah, you can use a DSLR for that. You just set everything, get the focus, or you tell the camera to autofocus, then flip it in the manual and boom, that shot's done for the rest of the day. So there's right tool for the job. There's no one perfect camera for everything. It was changed for me to use a 3-sensor technology, but it seems that the brands are shifting to one bigger sensor. Yes, because they're able to, it uses less silicon for one thing. You know, you don't have to do 3 big sensors. You don't have to deal with the complexities of the prism, and you're able to still deliver a beautiful image. You look at every DSLR, single sensor. Filming polo match, absolutely. Sports especially, but like I says, you know, when I call these ENG news gathering, you know, you're following the action. You don't know where you're going to get to stand to get the shot. Something's going to move past you. You need to be able to like be really, really flexible and not worry about finding the setting on the camera to get the shot. So electronic news gathering, you're able to like throw this down on a tripod, you know, get your shot, boom, you're done. But like one of the other things I wanted to show is side by side, the zoom demands. So I can, with this cable, I'm going to plug it into the bottom of the lens here. There we go. And then I have, for those who do ENG cameras, this is going to be blatantly obvious, but I put together a couple multi-views here. So what I've got here is, actually, let me turn this around. Boom. So this is the camera, and then this is the zoom control on the handle of the tripod. And, oh, okay, I got to plug the SDI cable in. Hang on. There we go. That should pop up in a second. Is it on? Yeah, it's on. I don't know why I'm not seeing it. Hang on. Technical difficulties. I'm going to turn it off and turn it back on again. When in doubt, turn it off, turn it back on. I should see a signal coming into the converter. I'm using SDI out into here. And don't know why I'm not seeing it. Can I edit that while I'm going? I'm going to delete that. That would be kind of interesting. Delete and add and webcam. No signal. Nope. Cancel. Oh, now it's working. Go figure. So that is the output of the camera. So I put the overlay on it so you can see what's going on. And then here on this little rocker switch, I'm going to just gently do a zoom there. So if somebody, is on the other side, you want to get there quick, you can do that. But if somebody is like running towards you and you wanted to like have them always stay in the shot, but you didn't want to change the shot, you didn't want to make it blatantly obvious that, you were following them, I'm just gently zooming out on this. You can also find this used in films too, where the zoom is almost so slow as to be imperceptible. And then I could ramp in and ramp out, so it's got a smooth start and stop, which is not something you're going to get with the DSLR lens again. And that's how easy it is to be able to like follow this, because I'm just able to stand behind here. I can look at, I can pop out the screen on the side here and then just be like, oh, okay. I just stand here and control it from here. I don't even need to have my hands on there, because again, if there's somebody that is painting the camera in the truck or at a remote location, the camera operator doesn't have to worry about exposure. They're just worried about watching the shot. They got the screen open, they're looking at the shot, they're following the action, and that's what they do. Their job is to focus and zoom and make a pretty shot. Somebody else is going to be controlling the iris. And if you're doing a stage play or something like that, or something where it's fixed lighting, you don't even have to worry about that. You just, I'm just following what happens, and then, we'll come into this, and then we'll go back out, and we'll zoom into my award, and we'll zoom back out. And it makes it really easy, zoom into a couple of lenses that I have up there. Just a few ENG lenses. Oh, you didn't even see that. Let's go over here so you can see. There you go. My lens collection is up there. Yes, I have shot with that Bolex. So, yeah, this is something that I have been doing for many years. And it deliver a high quality video easier, depending upon the situation again, easier than it can be using other tools. Like if I needed to cover a sports event and I was given a choice between a $1,000 kit with 3 Mevo starts or a $1,000 ENG camera used, dude, I would choose this any day of the week. Because this is just going to do so much better in terms of fluidly getting the shot. Whereas this is going to take a lot of networking, and I can throw, 300 feet of SDI cable, and this camera could be all the way at the end zone. And I get the shot. It's super easy. That is why the ENG camera, electronic news gathering on-shoulder camera, the ENG camera itself, these are still viable solutions in terms of doing production that requires shot flexibility. If you're just doing a stand in one spot, talk show around a table, yeah, this is not going to be the camera of choice. I mean, for a while there, that was the only camera of choice before DSLRs and all these other choices became available. But nowadays, you could take 3 of these, put them around a little conference table. This would be a lot better for that. A bunch of people having like a little talk show, like Howard Stern or whatever, just throw a couple of these up. Or, you could take your OBS-bot and then you can have your wide shot, then you can zoom into a close-up, and, you can have a little bit of variety of shots in between the whole length of the show, but different tools for different tasks. And a lot of people don't know about ENG camcorders because they came into the industry after DSLRs and these other tech tools became just so widespread. It's like there's so many choices. Which is the best one of these, little cameras for my son's soccer game? I'm like, none of them. This one. This is the tool for your kid's soccer game. And being able to get these used on the market, or if you are just producing, to find a local camera operator who already has one, you just hire them for the day. They show up, they have the expertise in the gear, and you just take the feed and you just tell them the shot that you want. So this camcorder in a sports looking body, this is an ENG camcorder. It's been the standard from the 70s. And this is the type of camcorder the entire world used before DSLRs could shoot video. Bringing a PA system into a camcorder or a encoding device from PA. I don't know what you mean, a PA system. Seems like the broadcasting industry, like Netflix and its pre-approved camera-less broadcasters, are now broadcasting a 4K 2/3 broadcast and HD lenses will require freelancers to certify to have same. Well, That said, you've seen stuff that's, Netflix can say, oh, in order to have your film certified. But then again, you look at any film produced today, there's GoPro footage in it. There's all kinds of DSLR footage in the film. Could be one of the Marvel films. And Netflix is not going to say, no, 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 we can't show this Marvel film because it has GoPro footage during one of the action sequences. I mean, really. These days, everything can produce a high quality image. Nobody's going to be shooting with a standard definition, high 8 camcorder anymore. I did, but nobody's going to be doing that anymore and then trying to convert that interlaced standard definition footage into HD. Unless, of course, you're doing a period piece and then we take this, 8K footage and we dumb it down to look like standard definition, interlaced footage. You know what I'm saying? So, while I appreciate the reasoning for Netflix camera approved list, in the end, it really comes down to image quality and the deliverable, as it should, because every single film that they've, every single action film, maybe not a drama or anything, but every single action film is going to have footage from a wide variety of cameras, crash cameras and things like that, that are not on that approved list. And Netflix is going to show them. It must be so lightweight for a field cam. This one, this is not lightweight. I mean, a DSLR would be more lightweight. But this is balanced. And what I was saying before is, well, I've got let me take the zoom control off, and it's still on a battery. Come on, there we go. I still got 2 on there. Let me take off the SDI, and then. So this is just easy to use in terms of being able to see my shot. I can hear it because I've got my earpiece right here. I can easily frame it. I can zoom in and out, just like that. And I've got my iris right here, my zoom right here, my focus right here, and it's parfocal so that I can zoom into the person's nose, or I would use their eyelashes, get absolutely critical focus right here because it's got a nice long travel. This one's almost 180 degrees. Nice long travel, get that critical focus, and then zoom all the way out. And it stays in focus. And if I do a slow zoom in, it'll be in focus anywhere I want it to, because that's how these lenses are designed, to be parfocal. You set the focus, it's focused. And then you've got a constant aperture. So if I put it in manual iris, it doesn't want to go in manual iris. If I set it in manual iris and I go to f2.8 and then I zoom all the way in, it's still f2.8. Now, your depth of field is going to change depending upon where you're zoomed. If you're zoomed really wide, and f2.8 is a much wider area than if you're zoomed all the way in at 200 millimeters. Now your f2.8 is like this big. So that's going to vary as well. And you even have macro on here. So if you wanted to shoot something that was like literally right in front of the lens, you could just twist this knob and it'll focus almost down to the front glass. That's how amazing some of these lenses are. But this makes it super easy to go from on shoulder, now it's on a tripod, and I got to swing this out of the way, bring out the screen, and now I'm shooting studio work. That's how easy it is and flexible in terms of these things. And you don't have to have the thing over your head with the cables so that you can hold the thing out in front and everything. They don't have image stabilization. I don't know of one that has sensor image stabilization. Some lenses you can get have optical image stabilization, but there is a lot of stabilization provided by the fact that it's on your shoulder. And as opposed to this being out there, when you breathe, you're going to be moving. It's on your shoulder and it has more mass. So that gives it a certain amount of stabilization inherently. So you don't have to do as much work to make the shot stable. If you watch a lot of reality shows, it's all of these cameras following everybody, zooming in and getting the shots and hunting and pecking and getting way over there through all whatever is going on. These are perfect for reality shows because you've got that long zoom and flexibility, and the operator has the convenience of being able to focus on the shot as opposed to dealing with the gear. We also use with a 2/3 b4 lens. Yes, these can actually be converted. I have a converter for these to put my 2/3 inch lens on a 1/2 inch camera, and then you get a multiplication factor because you're only using the center part of this much larger circle of light, and then the other lens I have actually has a doubler, so it's just crazy amounts of zoom in that. You know, this one might go to 62 millimeters, and then if you throw a doubler, it's 120 millimeters. But if I take one that goes to 120, throw a doubler in, now it's 240 millimeters. Then you've got the crop factor because I'm only using the center part of that because it's only a 1/2 inch designed sensor. Then I'm probably at 300, 350 millimeters as opposed to 62 on here. So you're talking long zoom work with that. PA audio system. I'm not really talking audio systems, but I guess Kent answered that yes. All right, so unless you have more questions with regards to ENG camcorders, I think I've kind of covered the value that these cameras can bring to production, especially streaming production, live streaming production, the flexibility. And again, you know, if you're used to having the compactness of a little DSLR, this on somebody's shoulder is almost, you already have to account for the person. So as opposed to accounting for the person and something in front of them, it's on their shoulder, and it can fit in a crowd as well. You put a wireless on top of this thing and you're going to be pulling it in, and it's going to give you a lot of the same capabilities in terms of small size and easy to maneuver, along with all of the features that an ENG camera brings to the field. I'm sold. Please put in your affiliate. Thanks. No, like I said, this put my affiliate. This one's available on eBay. I'm actually selling this camera. I have another one that I'm keeping, but I'm selling this one, and but they are available, you know, everywhere. You can find them on Facebook Marketplace. You can find them on eBay, and you can find them. Input to the camera, is it XLR or can it be line or mic? Yes. The input, which way can I spin it? Yes, this is uncoupled. The input to the camera, over here it's XLR, but you can set it to be mic, line, or mic plus 48 volts. So, you know, it's got those inputs, and then the microphone up here is being plugged into the input, but you don't have to use it. You know, you could just plug in stereo outputs of your mixer, plug them in there, switch at the line level, you're good to go. You know, you come out here, oh, I want to power the microphone, or I can have one line level feed coming in this channel and the ambient mic here. So if I'm doing a press conference and I want to have ambient mic to hear everyone in the audience, but I want to have the feed coming from the podium microphone through a distribution box, that's coming in here, and I get both the clean audio from the podium and I get what's being heard in the room as well. And you get both of those tracks. I do not believe this camera records 4 channels, but there are cameras that do. Somebody asked the model number. This is the JVC. It's a 700 series. I think it's a 750, but there's like a whole slew of ENG camcorders from most camera manufacturers. Sony's got ENG cameras, Panasonic's got ENG cameras. Canon has mostly prosumer cameras, which are kind of like all-in-one, you know, handy cams, not on-shoulder cameras like this. And they are available from, you know, 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s, and everything. So there's a lot of cameras out there. I guess you got to go past 2010 to make sure you get an HD camera. But the image quality that you're going to get from these is very capable because you can go in and adjust so many of the image parameters because they're made for broadcast. As I said in the beginning, this was originally a $7,500 camera. You can find this model on the JVC site still for the specifications. And, you know, you're getting $7,000 worth of capability, and you can buy these now for under $1,000 on eBay. And that is one of the key advantages of ENG cameras, is that they've been around for so long. There's so many of them out there. John Morton says it's a JVC 750. Thank you very much for that. I dare say it also looks far more pro than a DSLR. In certain respects, yes, but because DSLRs have been so adopted, I think in the beginning, you know, when the Canon 5D Mark II, you know, started to shoot video and people were showing up with DSLRs, there was definitely an opinion that, oh, why are you bringing a still camera to a video shoot? We need to have a video camera. And there was definitely a faux pas with regards to not having a big on-shoulder ENG camera. And I guess to a certain extent, there are clients today that may look down on a small DSLR camera, or if you show up, oh, we're going to shoot this whole thing with a couple Mevo starts. The deliverable is still the deciding factor. I've delivered things shot with iPhones, multiple iPhones. I have a multi-camera live streaming kit, and you can go to my website and see, you know, a regular conference that I filmed with 5 iPhones. And it looks good. But knowing how to use the tools is key. You know, you can get somebody who doesn't know how to use this, doesn't know how to properly adjust the image settings, and they're not going to deliver something that is as nice looking as somebody who's going to shoot something with an iPhone who really knows how to manipulate the capabilities of the iPhone. So it comes down to experience and expertise as well as the gear. But yes, clients will walk in and say, "Oh wow, we got the big guns today," you know, when you show up with one of these. But I think that's less so today, because I have shown up at conferences with a couple DSLRs, and the client hasn't batted an eye, because it's so accepted these days that DSLRs are shooting so much content that I don't think it's really an issue. Resolution of this one is 1080. John mentions the latest is the 850. Again, the JVC models all have this thin look to them. The DSLR is so yesterday, it's all mirrorless these days. I call mirrorless DSLRs because it is a reflex camera, because you are looking through the lens. You know, so that's what digital single lens reflex. That's what it all means. It's digital, it's a single lens, and reflex means you're looking through the actual taking lens. That's what that means, as opposed to a twin lens camera where you're not looking through the taking lens, you're looking through another lens. And I think that covers all of those questions that came in. Well, thank you very much for the questions. I appreciate that, because, you know, again, this is user driven, and I appreciate you all being here. If you haven't already, I do encourage you, especially those who are watching on Facebook, to go over to the StreamTek channel on YouTube and give me a subscribe. I really appreciate it. You know, find some other content there that you might like. I've reviewed, it's all about streaming gear. So if you're here for streaming technology, there's lots of content there for you. Also, there's the StreamTek page on YouTube. You can see we're live right now. I did create a group for AirMix, which is a free app. It's free now. Teradek made this. It was commercial for several years, and they decided to release it and then just say, listen, it's orphaned, that's not supported, there's no new features, there's no tech support. But they released it and made it completely free. Every paid feature is incorporated into it. And so if you want to go check it out, it costs nothing to check it out. And multi-camera, live switch, titles, streaming, recording, image correction, green screen, ISO recording. It's just crazy. Multi-layer capability, shots, scenes, and everything. Boom. iPhones and Android as source cameras. So that's fun, and I got a group on Facebook for that. You can always check me out on Streaming Media Producer, Streaming Media Magazine, which is free. And then if you need some consulting with regards to an event you've got coming up, or production you're looking to integrate stuff together, you can reach me at Stream for Us. You're looking for somebody to stream for us? That's me. Stream, the number 4.us, and then there's a contact page at the top. And if you like what I'm doing here, I actually started a Patreon right there. You can search for me, Anthony Barocas. And if you like what I'm doing, you could chip in there. But with that, I will bid you adieu for this week, and I will look forward to seeing you all next week. Already subscribed to your YouTube channel. We are on TV channels. Thank you very much. I appreciate you all being there, and I will look forward to seeing you all next week.